Richmond and Petersburg surrounding areas. It's me, Miss Community Clovia, welcoming you to another edition of Community Conversations. And it's the first weekend of the month of April. And here with me is the executor of this fine city of Richmond, L. Douglas Wilder.
Always good to be with you, Ms. Clovia, and I say that because I commend you and the station and all of the people who are assisting in this, because the service you provide is so much needed. And I hear it when people see me in the streets or whatever, who listen to your show and recognize that yours is not just an entertainment venue. Yours is an entertainment educational piece, and people need more of it, and they look for more of it. And if more people would do what you're doing, you could be uplifting. You could have more youngsters who are really interested in wanting to do things. But as we said earlier, you got to start as soon as possible. And that's why what I like to talk about is how we are moving Richmond forward, how we can move Richmond forward, and we don't have to be stuck. One of the things last week, and I'm very unfortunate that it was portrayed this way in the media, in terms of what I was saying, in terms of what we could do. Everybody across the country now recognizes that we're in a bad time economically. Bear Stearns has to be bailed out. When Wall Street's got to be bailed out, it's bad. When stock markets are plummeting 200-300 points in a day, when we don't see any end in sight to what we're spending in Iraq, when gasoline prices are soaring, good Lord, you put $25, you can't, that's a half a tank of gas.
Yeah, and truckers are going to strike soon.
Truckers going on strike, so which means monies are short, and we haven't addressed the needs that we have to and should address. And that's why I'm saying, if you're going to cut our revenue stream, and that's what some members of council are trying to do, it almost follows what George Bush has done, give tax breaks to those sometimes who are not necessarily needing it. But what about the services to people? When people are having their homes foreclosed on, when people don't have basic needs, when you need heat in the wintertime, when you need air in the summertime, when you need opportunities for recreation and after school for education. And that's why I'm saying it's unfortunate that some council members have chosen to react with such unwarranted alarm regarding the media coverage about potential cutbacks in city services. If City of Richmond is saying we have more money than we need, I thought that we had more services that we still needed to attend to. Infant mortality is still the highest in the state. School dropout, highest in the state. When you consider sexually transmitted diseases, highest in the state. Teenage pregnancies, as we pointed out, highest in the state. We need programs, but we need services, and to the extent that you need those services, you have to spend. Some people don't want you to spend on those services because if they had, why haven't they done it? And if they'd done it before, we wouldn't be highest. And don't tell me what we can't do, because I can tell you what we can do. When you look at some of the statistics in terms, particularly in graduation rates, America's Promise,
which is the hottest
issue
topic
that we have out here today. Colin Powell's wife, Alma, wrote me a letter yesterday, bringing to the attention of the mayor as well as to the superintendent, what are you going to do about dropout? Look at the graduation rate in Richmond, 47%. Oh, but you know, Richmond's a core city. It's an urban city. And so you don't know what those problems are. You would have that. And yes, Chesterfield's is 86% graduation rate. Hanover is 88% graduation rate. Henrico is just under 80% at 78%. But Norfolk is an 81% graduation rate. Portsmouth, 80% graduation rate. Richmond, 47% graduation rate. Something is wrong, and I have done everything I could to alert the people of the city of Richmond and tell them we need to do more for services. We need to do more for kids. We need to do more to upgrade. This is no time to say we've got so much money in a time of need that we can afford to say, hey, we don't need any more money for services. We do need the money. The city of Richmond has only one source of revenue, and that's real estate. We have cut real estate taxes 15 cents in the last 3 years, from 138 to 123. in the last 3 years alone. Then when you start talking about that type of cut, to say you're going to cut some more, that's telling the public that you don't need any money for services. You don't need help for these kids. You don't need help for the indigent, for the poor, for the homeless. You don't need, and I'm here to tell you that you do. So, unfortunately, citizens in every district, including those who rely more heavily on the city's social services and human services networks, would obviously be affected more by across-the-board service cuts if our revenue sources are reduced. Keep it where we have it. You don't see this hue and cry coming out of people saying, oh, I don't want services. People pay taxes. I pay taxes. Do I want to pay them? No. But I recognize that you need to pay for the services for police and fire. We're being cut at the state level, $800,000 in police protection. The governor said, I'm sorry, but we're cutting across the board. Not going to do it next year, but we got to deal with it this year. So the unfortunate thing is that the media report was wrong, was no quotation of mine. It was a summation. And what I am saying here on this show is what the facts are, that if you cut the real estate tax further, past the 15 cents that we've cut it in the last 3 years, you are going to have some effect on the services we extend to the people of the city of Richmond. If you want to do that, then you can't blame me when those services get cut.
And in a recent media release, Mayor threatens to cut trash pickup, delivery of public services to 3 districts.
And that was a misquote. That is totally misleading. As a matter of fact, I go further. It's not misleading. That's what Hillary Clinton says. She misspoke. She didn't misspeak. That quotation that you saw and you just cited to me, well, it's not misleading. It's an absolute lie.
Wow. I wasn't expecting that.
I know you were.
But it's so amazing. And you know, the purpose of having you on this show, you are the executor of the state, regardless of what folks are feeling. I would love to have Richmond City Council on, Superintendent Dr. Deborah Jewel Sherman, and the school board on to discuss the issues that we have within the city. Not to continue to battle back and forth in power struggles. We need to get to the bottom of this because our kids are suffering.
That's it.
Regardless, at the end of the day, our children are suffering. Anytime you have 47% of students graduating in the city of Richmond, but our economic development is up.
Oh, I left
Public
out something
safety
too.
is good.
But guess what, though? We spend $700 more per year. $700 million more per year. 71, I'm sorry, 71. I said, so I mean $71 million more per year than the state average. We spend more money than the state average, and we spend more money on the average than these schools that are making these high graduation rates. We spend more money. So when you talk about what the need is and what the results are, you got 2 different things. 47%, even though we're spending far more money per child and per capita than those others are. So what's wrong? So I'm sick and tired of saying things like, well, you need to make change. If the people of the city of Richmond like the way their school board is run, like the way their school administration is run, if they're happy with it, guess who else is happy with it? Me too.
But, you know, it's our children.
No, I'm not happy with it. There's no need to tell you that.
It's our children, and I'm a brand new mother, and I just simply want to understand. You know, in the city of Richmond, 47%, I'm a product of Richmond Public Schools.
And I am too.
Guidance counselors, physical fitness test, important. It was a part of the school curriculum. Remember that, Rob? It was all part of the school curriculum. We had an opportunity to go on field trips.
I didn't have guidance counselors.
You know, assemblies.
We didn't have these things that you speak of. We didn't have field trips. We had outdoor toilets when I started in elementary school. We had no cafeteria. At George Mason, we had no library. At George Mason, we had no auditorium. At George Mason, but we had the best teachers in the world.
And they didn't teach to a test.
They never taught to a test, and they made